So you need decentralization, you need variety, you need diversity. That's what gives strength. And of course, Bitcoin is decentralization. So Bitcoin is very much on the other side of this conflict.
Before we move forward, I'd just like to remind you that we're giving away $100 to a random subscriber at the end of this month. To take part in it, all you have to do is subscribe to our channel, like this video, and leave a comment in the comments section below. Good luck. Now coming back to Max Keiser's interview, he talked about what China has been up to and what the US government is doing when it comes to Bitcoin regulation. He then talked about how the institutional investors' interest in Bitcoin has changed over the years, and then he touched upon the biggest strengths of Bitcoin when compared to other asset classes. He also talked about his predictions for Bitcoin and why cryptos like Bitcoin as an asset class are so attractive to him. If you want to hear Max's comments on the crypto market, watch this video till the end and don't forget to press the like button. Now, let's look at his interview.
Yeah, the key word there is airlift. It triggers a lot of thoughts in the minds, that the U.S. would airlift aid to Berlin, right?
Yeah.
The U.S. would airlift aid to Biafra or other countries that were having food crises in Africa or Latin America. And you need to airlift this into this country thanks to the wonderful nation of do-gooders here in the U.S. Well, now the U.S. is having baby formula airlifted on an emergency basis due to the complete collapse, as you say, collapse of empire or collapse of the fiat money cantillionaires. Eventually you print to update the Margaret Thatcher quote. Remember, she said that the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money.
Yeah.
I think we got to update this quote, is that the problem of fiat money is that eventually you run out of willing buyers of your fake fiat money bonds. Eventually it runs out. It doesn't go forever. The incapacity to take care of oneself is being normalized across the social spectrum. So in the world of economics, nobody can work really for a living, so they're airdropped free money through these packages that come of the fiat money. You can't get baby formula, so it's being airlifted down. Soon there'll be, airlifting in lots more. They're going to have to do something about the energy crisis with gas going to $7, $8.
Gasoline,
on Twitter, I predicted a few months ago that we'd see $12 a gallon of gas in 2022. You've got in Seattle, gas stations are already modifying the machines to take double digits on the left side of the decimal point. So they're looking for $10, $11, $12 a gallon. So that's going to completely jam up the economy. And diesel prices are already at historic highs, causing massive problems in the trucking industry. So this airlifting of vital supplies into the U.S., it looks like this is the beginning of a big trend. Yeah. Last time, of course, in 2008, we had the Arab Spring, and that was along with oil at $147 a barrel. Now, recently, oil got to 137, not quite hitting a new all-time high. But it's certainly across the commodity index, the whole spectrum of commodities, they are hitting new all-time highs in lots of different commodities around the world as the purchasing power of the dollar continues to fall away. And it gets back to your original point about empire falling away. I mean, Russia before this crisis was not considered to be an important economic element in the global economy, except when you adjust for commodity presence and then adjust it for commodity input in terms of the raw material that goes into the global economy. It's in the top 5. So as of February, one of the top 5 economies in the world suddenly was at loggerheads with the other 4, right? And the other 4 are debtors that need the commodities. So again, getting back to my poker table analogy, the chips seem to be on one side of the table here. I'm looking forward to, the U.S. could adopt a Bitcoin standard. That would immediately catapult it into the 21st century in a meaningful way, and they could reassert their presence as a top dog economy. That would be fantastic. I would look forward to seeing something like that happen. Barring any making Bitcoin legal tender in the U.S., I'm trying to figure out what the plan is. Yeah, absolutely. The February 26th, as you say, was the date that the reserves were confiscated, and the dollar and the Treasury Department in Washington, D.C. kind of took the U.S. dollar away from being a tier one global reserve currency to being a regional currency of North America and the United States. It was no longer a global currency. So China looked at that and said, well, we kind of saw this coming for a while. That's why we've been buying so much gold for the past 20 years. That's why we have thousands of tons of gold in case this scenario was going to unfold. And of course, they have a lot of geopolitical ambitions themselves. And they may decide that this is a good time for them to expand their wings a little bit and expand themselves territorially. Of course, in their view, that wouldn't be much of an expansion of all, but from the world eyes, it would seem like they're going after an expansionist policy. How that's going to play out in the current scenario, I can't imagine that it would help this incipient inflation bubble at all. I mean, if China is now no longer part of the globalized world and they're going to start charging real prices for their stuff, I mean, that means prices are going to go up again for all that stuff at Walmart. Look at Walmart and Target just reported earnings for the quarter that were a big shockingly terrible, because the margins are horrible, because the stuff that they're importing from China is a lot more expensive. And corporations typically over the years have been able to hide these things and not be forced to pass the price onto the consumer by using their corporate balance sheet, which becomes the really that area in the corporation where you can hide a lot of problems and hide a lot of sins. If a company like Walmart or Target suddenly finds their margins are pressured, they can manufacture earnings for that quarter by going to their corporate cash desk and saying, we need you guys to make money, and they can pressure and manipulate markets. In a world that's U.S. dollar dominated and U.S. central bank and banking dominated, you can manufacture earnings on your corporate cash desk all the time. We've talked about it many times. But in this era, if you're going to deglobalize and the U.S. dollar is no longer world reserve currency, if you call up your corporate cash desk and say, I need you to manufacture $2 billion worth of earnings for the next in the next 2 weeks, please, to make my numbers, they're going to come back and say, there's no liquidity. The spreads aren't there. Carry trades are all dead. Yen is not working for us either. And they got to report the actual numbers. They actually got to come and say, you know what, our margins are getting pressured. And these are, Walmart, remember, I believe is the biggest employer in America, second only to the military.
They're the biggest private employer. Yeah.
Right. So it's something like 400,000 employees. I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but it's an enormous amount of people. So, if they start laying off, even Amazon started laying off. The Amazon wants to shut down like 10 million square feet of warehouse space because of the contraction by the consumer. That's, again, that's all China related, that they can't source their shit at the same price, and they can't hide the fact that their margins are being pressured because the dollar is no longer world reserve currency. So those trends, those things are breaking, right? So you can't just glue them back together again like you used to, because on February 26th, you said the dollar's no longer trustworthy. So that means all those corporate balance sheet tricks no longer work. I think the conflict for this century is centralization versus decentralization.
Yeah.
We've moved on from capitalism versus communism. Now it's centralization versus decentralization. What Davos represents is an attempt to centralize. They want World Economic Forum. They want the International Monetary Fund. They want the World Bank. They want the World Health Organization. They want global institutions of unelected public officials or unelected officials to impose global regulations and to centralize things
and to continue the Cantillon effect, because they're all cantillionaires, right?
That's where they come from, and so this is where they're going, and this is always a recipe for disaster. And we know this from nature. Anytime you see centralization in nature, it ends up in failure. So you need decentralization, you need variety, you need diversity. That's what gives strength. And of course, Bitcoin is decentralization. So Bitcoin is very much on the other side of this conflict. The shitcoiners at Davos have sided with the centralization, the
True.
centralizers, and all of the shitcoins are centralized creations compared to Bitcoin. They're either relatively or absolutely centralized compared to Bitcoin, and so they've taken their lot with the centralizers. The CBDCs are centralizers. The fiat money is centralized, and even gold, to a large degree, is centralized. So they've picked their side. That's the side that they're on. Then there's the decentralized side. And the decentralized side is picking up a lot of steam in the global south, right? El Salvador, Central America, Nigeria, these countries are now part of the decentralized pushback with Bitcoin against the global north.